Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And now a message from McAfee.
Your package couldn't be delivered.
You owe thousands in unpaid tolls.
You want a free gift.
If texts like these sound familiar, McAfee can help. McAfee automatically identifies text and email scams as well as AI-generated audio to help you stay safe. If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the pipe bomb case tied to January 6th has been solved. The big bust coming just hours ago in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is about 35 miles from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the Rita Cosby Show. And tonight, we're getting a lot more details about the suspect, the guy accused of leaving the pipe bombs first at the DNC and then the RNC. 30 years old, Brian Cole Jr., and according to a number of different publications, this is interesting. He was one of those folks who didn't like politicians. One publication describing him as an anarchist. Some publications saying they talked to neighbors, that he is described as a loner. He worked with his father's bail bondsman business. That's kind of interesting because he would know to sort of cover up a crime or put pieces of a crime together. With some law enforcement exposure, clearly. But who is this guy? And why did it take so long to solve this case? This is a very important one because it has been almost 5 years since this case happened. I mean, let's remember, this was at the height of all the things was tied to January 6th. And yet it seems like the Biden FBI chose to ignore it. It seems like the Biden FBI had all these details, all the same facts in front of them, and yet decided, no, we're not going to pursue it. We're not going to really do a deep dive. That is a big, big issue. So was there a big cover-up? It sure seems like they weren't anxious to solve this one. They had all the details in front of them, and all it took, according to Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and others, was just old-fashioned shoe leather, investigative great detective work where they looked through, they pinpointed all these different cell towers. They looked at the shoes that the guy was wearing, sort of specific sneakers to see who had them, looked to see who was buying components that would have worked to create these bombs. And suddenly they triangulated it all and it came back to this guy. And then they swarmed in on his house today. Also, we're finding out that the guy's father, this is interesting, was claiming that he wasn't able to sell his business at one point and that the prosecutor essentially was racist because the prosecutor didn't want to sell it to a black-owned business because this guy, Brian Cole Jr., is African-American and his father's obviously African-American. So there was a problem, apparently, and then they got Benjamin Crump, who you see at every single case like this where there's ever a cry of racism. Ben Crump can't run fast enough, it seems. But he represents a lot of these cases with Al Sharpton and others. So was that part of this? I don't know. We're just getting details. We don't know a lot at this point. But we do clearly know is that the Biden FBI dropped the ball. How could that be? I mean, is it at the highest levels? They said, don't investigate this. Apparently, there were a lot of leads, but nobody kind of triangulated things. It seems like if they just spent a little bit of time on it, it seems like they would have solved it because it looks like the Trump administration solved it pretty quickly. We heard back in October that they were going to do a concerted effort on this. So how is it that the ball got dropped for 4 years under Joe Biden? Remember, everything we heard out of Joe Biden's mouth and the Democrats was January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. So if indeed that's the case, why weren't they looking at the pipe bombs that were left at the DNC and the RNC only hours before? Especially when Kamala Harris was right near one of them, was within a few feet of one of them. This is just really wild. There's a lot more to the story. They can't be that inept, because that's either what is they're so inept and suddenly there are such miraculous, great crime fighters under the Trump administration, or somebody said, hey, you really don't need to look at this one. I would like you to, in fact, look in another direction. Wink, wink. It doesn't fit our narrative. There are so many questions tonight. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Now, also, the big story, the other one tonight is Venezuela. And boy, it is a doozy. We're hearing now two very different versions of the tape. First off, the admiral went in to testify today behind closed doors, classified briefing. This is on the Venezuelan drug boat strike. This is the one dating back to September. By the way, there was word tonight that the Trump administration carried out another strike today. So they're not backing down. Bravo, bravo, bravo. President Trump is taking the fight on drugs right to the cartels, to the belly of the beast, which is what every president should have been doing. And we're going to play something that Joe Biden even said years before. He was agreeing with Trump. But now today, Democrats, they have Trump derangement syndrome. So the admiral goes behind closed doors and testifies about the first strike and then the second strike. And after the testimony, we heard two very different versions of what they thought the facts were. Here is Senator Tom Cotton, military guy. I know Senator Tom Cotton. He's a great, honorable guy. And here's what he had to say after he got that briefing from the admiral.
Senator, you said that the strikes were righteous, that there were 4 of them. Would you have taken the same shot if you were in that position?
If I was Admiral Bradley and I'd been delegated authority, absolutely. And I'd do it again.
Was there more than 4 shots?
No, there's 4.
Oh, there's more. There was more, is what he's saying. There's more. But listen to Congressman Jim Himes. He is a Democrat from Connecticut. And this is what he had to say after watching the tape. Listen to what he told reporters in this Q&A.
Can you tell us what you learned your impression of this?
Let me just say this. Admiral Bradley and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff did the right thing. And Admiral Bradley defended the decisions taken. And Admiral Bradley has a storied career, and he has my respect, and he should have the respect of all of us. But what I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed by the United States.
Can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what was so troubling? Like, what were some of the things that come up here?
Under the DoD manual for abiding by the laws of armed conflict, the specific example given of an impermissible action is attacking a shipwreck. Any American who sees the video that I saw will see the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. Bad guys, but attacking shipwrecked sailors. Now there's a whole set of contextual items that the Admiral explained. Yes, they were carrying drugs. They were not in the position to continue their mission in any way. People will someday see this video and they will see that video shows, if you don't have the broader context, an attack on shipwrecked sailors.
Who ordered that?
The last thing I'm going to say is that the Admiral confirmed that there had not been a kill them all order, and that there was not an order to grant no quarter.
So does it exonerate accept?
That's all I got.
Do you think the video should be released publicly?
I do.
Do you expect hearings, sir?
So you just heard Jim Himes, an attack on shipwrecked sailors. They make it sound like it's like Tom Hanks in Castaway. By the way, I love that movie. Remember with the basketball? Wilson, come back, Wilson. They make it sound like it's like Tom Hanks, who happened to be a FedEx employee, and he ended up on a boat, a raft, and stranded at an island. These were drug runners. They were obvious drug runners because guess what? You just heard him say that. Even Jim Himes, who is a bleeding heart apologist, it seems like, for drug dealers, he even said that they were bad folk. So he couldn't even deny it. So it's not like they got the wrong guys. All right. I mean, this is insane. What have we come to that the Democrats are trying to do apologies and trying to do the sympathy tour for drug dealers? He just said they are bad people. So he knows they were delivering drugs. He just said they were not able to continue delivering drugs. So obviously they were delivering drugs. So you can't say they got a Carnival cruise line. They got a boat with drug dealers. And then he says it's an attack on shipwrecked sailors. Like we're supposed to feel sorry for them. I'm sorry, I do not. I do not. And I don't think anybody should. And shame on these Democrats for taking that position. And this is the same Jim Himes. And we played this last night. This is the same Jim Himes that said this, that there's no such word as narco terrorists.
There is no such thing as a narco-terrorist. There are very, very bad narcotics people, cartels, etc., but they're desperate to make this look like it's ISIS or Al-Qaeda because that's the very thin line on which their illegal use of the United States military to take these people out resides.
So there's no such thing as narco-terrorists. Boy, is this guy a bleeding heart apologist for drug dealers? Are you kidding me? And here is Joe Biden. Let's not forget what Joe Biden himself said, leading Democratic president, before he was president, well before. This is 1989. But listen to Joe Biden in his own words of what needs to happen to drug dealers.
Every president for the past 2 decades, Democrat and Republican alike, has declared war on drugs. And each of them has lost that war and lost it miserably. They lost because they attempted to deal with only part of the drug problem. They lost because their initiatives were pulled apart by bureaucratic squabbling among their advisors. They lost because they always did too little and they did it too late. We don't oppose the president's plan. All we want to do is strengthen it. We don't doubt his resolve. All we want to do is stiffen it. The trouble is that the president's proposals are not big enough to deal with the problem. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it. We have to lock up the dealers for a long, long time, and we have to attack the source from which the drugs come. And we have to do that not a piece at a time, but all at once. And we have to do it now. And there's not any reason why we can't do that. We have the power, we have the money, and we have the knowledge.
That's an incredible statement. Joe Biden, again, saying, let's go after the drug lords where they live, and we need to attack them at the source. And now here we are in 2025. And Joe Biden mums, but his party certainly yapping. And his party saying, yeah, this is so mean to go after these nice, sweet drug lords. When Joe Biden himself clearly was sharp in 1989, a lot sharper than he was clearly in the last few years. I wish Joe Biden would speak out now and say, yeah, that's what I felt. And I agree with President Trump. I'd have a lot more respect for him if he said that now. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And we'll take your calls when we come back.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Idea Gen Global Podcast with George Sifakis.
I'm George Sifakis. In a world overflowing with noise, there is one forum where the world's smartest voices connect, where visionaries sit at the same table as innovators, and great minds don't just talk, they act.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
It's 7v7 soccer. Smaller the pitch, faster the action. The world's elite soccer clubs compete for their share of a massive $5 million prize. Catch World Sevens on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max December 5th through the 7th.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Watch Jay Kelly December 5th, only on Netflix.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And boy, we could use some good news because things have been absolutely crazy. And so much of it is the vitriol coming from the Democrats. I use this phrase that it's like the world is upside down, and boy, is it ever, that we now have a number of Democrats who are out there defending narco terrorists, knowing that they're narco terrorists. That's why I found that so interesting, that comment from Jim Himes, the Democrat of Connecticut, saying, yeah, we know they're bad people, but it's still not nice to take them out on a drug boat. I mean, what have we come to? We know he's a nice person, but it's a shame that you punished him because he killed 10 people. And in this case, look at the responsibility of those drugs. What happens? Look at the chain of custody that happens when drugs come to America. If fentanyl, for example, 100,000, anywhere from like 78 to 100,000 Americans die every year from drugs. President Trump has named, of course, drug cartels, foreign terrorist organizations. What are you supposed to do? Have them over for tea and crumpets? I don't think so. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Robert in Brooklyn real quick. Robert, line 3. Go ahead. Your thoughts tonight.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my call. Well, it seems very strange. It took so long for him to be arrested.
You're talking about the pipe bomber, right? The pipe bomber.
Right. Brian Cole, the alleged pipe bomber.
Yep.
So it's just, as a general matter, I would take a grain of salt, anything the government says.
Wait. So hang on. Do you not believe he's the guy, or do you believe they turned a blind eye somebody in the FBI or elsewhere for, 4 years? I mean, it sounds, everybody's saying there was no new information. They just went over the old information. So it sounds like nobody else went over the old information, or at least not this way in the past.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that, it's very hard to determine what's what with our government. I'm not taking a position one way or the other.
I believe he's arrested, don't you? I mean, you believe he's arrested, and you believe, I hope that you think they probably have the evidence on him. I don't think they just swarm a house for the fun of it.
Well, I'll just give you an example of something, which is a little bit of a tangent, but Rasmussen, like about on November 22nd, they said that Americans say that 63 million Americans say they got side effects on the COVID vaccine. 17.5 million reporting major side effects on the COVID vaccine.
All right. So Robert, so what's your point?
Well, it's just how much can you trust what you're being told. That's the point.
Well, no, but by the way, and I hear that because you're right, there's been a lot of the back and forth on the COVID stuff, no doubt. But in this case, I believe they clearly have the guy, if you look at the coincidences or believe that they believe it. My question is, what took so long in the Biden administration?
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Willington, Connecticut, where a woman who was in crisis was safely transported to an area hospital after being located by a state police dog team. This happened on Monday night just before midnight, and troopers were dispatched to her residence for the report of an adult female who was trying to harm herself. Troopers determined that the woman had left the home on foot prior to their arrival. She was reportedly intoxicated, and get this, remember it was cold, it's been cold all week, only wearing a bathrobe. So Trooper Ryan Mara and his canine Cash, who hold the distinction of locating numerous missing persons through the years in Connecticut, were called in and arrived on scene just after midnight. And they quickly conducted a track from the woman's home. And the woman was then located lying face down in thick brush just off a road about a quarter mile away. She was immediately taken to an area hospital for further evaluation and found to be in stable condition. Lucky to be alive, again being located soon after wandering off, intoxicated and obviously unstable mentally, and thankful that she is here to the great work of law enforcement, including our furry friends as well. Well, we are talking about the strike on the Venezuelan drug boat, also the pipe bomber, an alleged pipe bomber being arrested today in Woodbridge. You just heard from Robert from Brooklyn. Robert was saying it's hard for him to believe anything the government says. I would say that under the Biden administration, but I certainly believe that they had very strong evidence to get this guy. You don't just swarm in on a house for the fun of it and then say, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. What clearly, to me, is the big question in that is, why was the Biden FBI waiting so long? They had the same evidence. Remember, this happened on January 5th is when the bombs were planted. And then they were discovered the next afternoon, right around the time all that stuff was happening on the Capitol. The January 6th case was looked at tooth and nail all over the place. So you're telling me they didn't have time to look at a pipe bomber? And if you look at the video is very grainy. The guy is wearing a mask. He's got a jacket, a mask. You can't really see too much of what he looks like at all. And yet they did enhance video. They put it out in October. And then they said again that they didn't have any new leads. They just kind of connected the dots all together. And they determined that this guy actually bought components at 8 different Home Depots and other locations over a number of years, preparing for this moment. So this shows pre-planning, if indeed that's the case. Also, his cell phone apparently pinged 7 different times that night, right around the DNC and right around the RNC. I don't believe in coincidences, but if you put those things together and you figure out, okay, he bought the components for a bomb. He lives not far from D.C. Woodbridge, again, is like 35 minutes or so from D.C. It's very close. It's a suburb. A lot of people from Washington live there. And Then you put all the pinging in, you put the other stuff together. I mean, it's very, very powerful information. Apparently, the sneakers in this grainy footage, they're kind of collector type sneakers, sort of limited edition. So they figured out, okay, who has that limited edition, who would have bought them. So you put a lot of this together and it came back to this guy. And that's why they feel they have the information. We'll find out more. We'll find out motive. Why would you leave it at the DNC? Why would you leave it also at the RNC? Why would you leave it at both places? And again, there are some reports tonight that the father felt angry that he was being passed over at one point to sell his business because he says it was a black-owned business and he felt that that was the reason he was getting passed over. But then we also hear that this son didn't like politicians. Maybe he was sort of an anarchist type. There's some reports like that. And also, he was a loner. Their neighbors today who said that they just don't understand how this guy who really kept to himself, he like walked his little baby chihuahua apparently like twice a day to 7-Eleven, had his headsets in and didn't really talk to anybody in the neighborhood. Was very quiet, really a loner, and kept to himself. 30 years old, and the name of the suspect is Brian Cole Jr. So what are we missing here, guys? And why did the Biden FBI, if they had all these details, why didn't they try to put it together when it only took the Trump team just a few months with no new leads, so they say? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And we're also talking about the strike on the Venezuelan drug boat, the one that everybody's talking about back to September. Today, the Admiral testified, Admiral Mitch Bradley, who has, by the way, 30 plus years of really senior military experience. And everybody said, no, I don't doubt him. This guy is credible. And he came behind closed doors and he dropped a couple bombshells on the members of Congress. First off, saying that Pete Hegseth did not issue a kill order. In other words, didn't say get everybody wiped to the face of this earth. So that was one. So he, said essentially what Pete Hegseth himself said to the media the other day, that it wasn't his choice, that he walked away. And the next thing he knows, there was a second strike. He also stood by this admiral. And the admiral today apparently explained, yes, it was a boat. The boat was still intact. There were still drugs on the boat, that they were still trying to get to the drugs. That means they're still in action. It's still in activity. There's some reports that they were trying to radio in for help. There's other reports saying that didn't happen. But regardless, even Jim Himes, the Democrat, says they were bad folks. But he said, don't be mean to the narco terrorists. But here is Senator Tom Cotton. This is what he had to say after the briefing today.
I want to thank Admiral Bradley and General Kane for coming to brief about the strikes on September 2nd, which were righteous strikes. These are narco-terrorists who are trafficking drugs that are destined for the United States to kill thousands of Arkansans and millions of Americans. The first strike, the second strike, and the third and the fourth strike on September 2nd were entirely lawful and needful, and they were exactly what we would expect our military commanders to do.
What exactly did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs down for the United States, back over, so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard, of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. And just like you would blow up a boat off of the Somali coast or the Yemeni coast, and you'd come back and strike it again if it still had terrorists and it still had explosives or missiles, Admiral Bradley and Secretary Hegseth did exactly what we would expect them to do.
I saw two guys who were staying in the fight, flipping over the boat and trying to get the cocaine. So, and then maybe notifying others to come help to try to get it too. So if you saw again, let's say the equivalence of somebody with an RPG and they're flipping over and trying to get the RPG again, Does that sound like just two nice fishermen who happen to be, you want on a summer vacation? I don't think so. And even Jim Himes doesn't think so. But here's what Jim Himes said on a podcast. You got to listen to what he said about the video. He still seems very sympathetic to these terrorists.
What can you share with us about what you saw when the Admiral provided that video during the meeting?
Yeah, well, I don't know what else I can tell you. It was exceedingly hard to watch. From a legal standpoint, you can say that this is a war. I don't agree with that. It's not a war. If it were a war, it would be authorized by Congress. But even if you stipulate that it's a war, there is an extremely specific prohibition against killing individuals who've been removed from the fight. The French term they use is hors de combat. And there is no question that these individuals were removed from the fight. They were in the last hours of their life, even if we had left them alone because they were floating on a piece of flotsam in the middle of an ocean. Maybe they might have been recovered by some of their colleagues, but they posed zero threat to anyone in the region. And we killed them.
I mean, does he want to have drug dealers over his house for dinner? This guy seems like a bleeding heart for narco terrorists. That's my opinion. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Pete in Staten Island. Pete, you can't make this one up. Go ahead.
Unbelievable, Rita. Blowing up those ships, and I do rescue for Narcan with the fentanyl and the cocaine and stuff. I've been doing it for about 7 years. And right now, since Donald Trump has done this, knocking these ships out, it's decreased to an amazing amount. I usually get about 7 or 8 calls on the police radio when there's somebody down, and I try to respond. There's a couple of friends of mine, we all respond because this affected me. My godson overdosed right before my very eyes. And when I said, wow, I got to join, I got to do something about this.
Wow.
And where he was getting the fentanyl and stuff was at the pizza delivery. Nothing to do with the pizzerias, but the delivery guys would deliver. When they wanted to get some stuff, they'd say, give me extra cheese. And they make a delivery. And they put it in like Snapple bottles and stuff.
Wow.
So
Wait, Pete, let me ask you, first off, that is so powerful what you just said. I'm going to be afraid, first of all, to order extra cheese from a pizza delivery guy in the future. My goodness. Now, I'll say go light on the cheese, right? But now here's my other thing is, how long ago did that happen? And boy, you understand the pain that families go through over the loss of loved ones.
It's our 8th year, and it was the most horrible thing in the world because with this fentanyl, I want people to notice rigor mortis sets in seconds. And sometimes when I get to a rescue, if somebody's in the car driving, I try to get them out of the car because they will go into completely stiff that you got to get the jaws of life to cut the person out of the car. Now, you could be standing up, and the rigor mortis sets in seconds. It's the most horrible thing. And they scream, they go, get me out of my body, because you become a prisoner in your own body. Now, when I had my toe amputated, but
wait, hey, Pete, real quick, but before we move on, about your nephew, what's your message about, President Trump taking the fight to the drug dealers? And it's something, by the way, obviously, that even Joe Biden, when he was a member of Congress, said was a good thing.
Well, the thing is that he's doing a great job. It has to be done because this isn't just young people. This is older people doing it. Escape from reality. They can't deal with what goes on. Life is tough. It's what you make it. We got uppers and downs. We got every highs and lows, Got to be able to cope. When I had my toe amputated, they gave me fentanyl. And my God, under controlled medical way, it's amazing. I didn't feel nothing. I was like numb completely.
And by the way, Pete, that's a very powerful example because there you had medical supervision as opposed to, young people like your nephew who went through this. And obviously what a horrible loss. Pete, we love you. And boy, you've had some really powerful experiences in your life. And what a sad one to lose your nephew to something like this. And I think, sadly, so many families have been affected by this. It's really, really tragic. And that's why President Trump clearly is moved by all of this. He is clearly emotional. He's met with so many of these families who've had losses of drugs, and by dealers coming in, whether it's through pizza delivery guys or friends on the corner, whatever the case is. And you could tell he is definitely genuine and moved by this fight. And it's a sincere fight. And you could tell when he's with those families, he feels their pain. He's a father. He understands. And sadly, it's hit friends of his too, friends of his family. So, I mean, I don't think there's any family in this country that doesn't know somebody, or even if it's a few removed, doesn't know somebody that's been affected by it. And Pete, we love you. And Renee, thank you for sharing that story, a really powerful, powerful one. Everybody, we're going to continue your calls after the break. 1-800-848-9222.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This holiday, give the gift that says, let's cancel plans and just lounge. MeUndies has dropped their new holiday collection, and it's made for maximum cozy. We're talking soft as snow, ultramodal fabric, festive prints, and loungewear so comfy, your couch might get jealous. Onesies, hoodies, joggers, even delightfully quirky holiday designs. You're welcome. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs with deals up to 60% off at MeUndies.com/Spotify. Enter promo code Spotify. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code Spotify.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify, spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And Attorney General Pam Bondi, when she made the announcement that the suspect, 30 years old, Brian Cole Jr. of Woodbridge, Virginia, just outside of the nation's capital, that he was busted for being the guy who left the 2 pipe bombs. By the way, those 2 pipe bombs, they did not go off. But they were considered viable, that they were real pipe bombs. And indeed, they were ready to go off. It was just lucky that they were located, and they were found the next afternoon. And at one point, Kamala Harris had walked right by the one at the DNC, was within a few feet of it. So pretty scary stuff of what had happened and what could have happened. And the question is, what was the motivation? We don't know yet. But here is Attorney General Pam Bondi saying that the case got new life when there was new leadership at the FBI.
This cold case languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came to the FBI. The FBI, along with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our prosecutors, have worked tirelessly for months sifting through evidence that had been sitting at the FBI with the Biden administration for 4 long years. Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work, working as a team along with ATF, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and of course, the FBI.
No new tip, no new lead, just new leadership. 1-800-848-9222. You're listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota on line 2. Dom, your thoughts?
Yeah, Rita, a couple of quick points. You know,
if Sleepy Joe had started taking anti-aging pills in 1989, he would have been Snappy Joe in 2024 and probably won all 50 states and done a cartwheel on the steps of Air Force One.
Yeah, because guess what? I like the Joe Biden of 1989, don't you?
Yeah.
That Joe Biden's a good Joe Biden, and his message was very clear. That's why, that's why a lot of people, and even President Trump has said a lot of these auto pen things, even Joe Biden, who got a little wishy, if you will, clearly, and became a little bit of a far left ideologue. Remember, he's like, oh, let them protest about the protesters. But I also think he was so out of it. That's why I think President Trump also believes that the real Joe Biden never really came out and the auto pen was sort of ruling the White House. And if even a shred of that 1989 Joe Biden came out, hey, you're right, he would have done a lot better and we'd also have a lot more security in our country, right?
Yeah. Ronald Reagan famously said, the most terrifying words in the English language is, I am from the government and I want to help. But now, Trump is the first president that can say the most wonderful words in the English language is, I am from the government and I want to help, and mean it.
Right. Exactly. And we'll really look into it. What's interesting, Dom, to me, I feel like there's a lot more to this story in terms of, especially on the pipe bomb case that we're talking about, that and the boats. But on the pipe bomb, I feel like the fact that the Joe Biden White House did not want to look at it, the FBI, and it makes you wonder what was going on. Were they directed by the White House? Don't look at this. We only want you to focus at what happened at the Capitol. It doesn't fit our narrative. This lone, pipe bomb, there may be more involved. Who knows? But why do you think were they stupid? Or were they nefarious? What do you think?
No, I think it's very calculated, Rita. I was kind of looking into this and why this didn't happen during Joe Biden's tenure in 4 years when they had the same kind of data. Couple of things. One is, Dom,
do me a favor. Hey, Dom, hold on. Do me a favor. We got to go to heartbreak. I love you. We'll carry you over, okay? So stick with us. We'll hear Dom's scenarios, Jake Tapper, and more.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now, is a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.